Well, my name is Samuel S. Dementif. Sam Dementif is what I usually go by. I was born in Holy Cross in 1939, raised in Holy Cross until I was 5 or 6 years old, and then my dad moved all of our family from Holy Cross to Nenana, Fairbanks. We spent a winter here in Fairbanks in the early 40s, back to river freighting, which was my dad's work, freighting freight from generally Nenana downriver to all the villages downriver. But we stayed here in Fairbanks, made a home here in 1948, 49, and my dad got some land down on the Chena. So our boat operation ended up in Fairbanks, based here in Fairbanks, and we lived here in the winter times, but every year during the 40s and 50s and early 60s, every summer, we were on the Yukon and Tanana rivers freighting from Nenana downriver. So I got to know many people up and down the village, those river villages. I went to school in Holy Cross Mission, Immaculate Conception School here in Fairbanks, the Denali School, Main School, Lathrop, and then graduated from high school in Copper Valley School at Glen Allen. As we lived on the rivers, we had a subsistence lifestyle, hunting and fishing along the rivers and buying and trading fish and game along the rivers. And in the winter we hunted. We bartered and we sold goods along the river. So as we left here in the springtime, we'd go along to all the farms here and buy all the potatoes and other produce we could and put on the barges and sell it as we went on downriver. And I think I was more concerned with myself than I was with the land claims. You know how it is when you're growing up. Everything is you. You know, you're a teenager and you felt farthest you can think is next weekend or the weekend after that. So it wasn't, but I think there were many Native people that were involved early, and they were the leaders. Those were the people that were concerned about their subsistence lifestyle and the lands. When I first heard of the Claims Act, I would say in the 1960s, I heard of Native people here in Fairbanks getting together talking about the issue of land claims, and there were meetings taking place. I was not directly involved. I didn't really become involved and interested in the Claims Act until probably 1968 and 1970, when I went to work for, well, first of all, I went to the university for a year in a certificate program, which was mineral and petroleum technology, right when the discovery well took place on the slope, confirmation well year after that same year. And I was in school in 69, got out in 70, and went to work immediately for Atlantic Richfield. And then could see the Claims Act evolving, starting reading the newspaper and starting to become interested in what was going on. In 1971, the Claims Act passed. I became more interested in 1973 and 74 and ran for the Doyon Limited Board of Directors and won a seat on there, and I served for about 3 or 4 terms for about 13 to 14 years on the board of directors for Doyon Limited. During that time period, I also became interested in the Village Corporation of Holy Cross and ran for that board and was elected and served a term there. During that time period, in 1971, 72, and 73, during the implementation, the village corporations were starting to encounter quite a bit of questions and became aware of the problem of being able to implement the Claims Act. How do you form a corporation? What do you do? What are your responsibilities? And what should they do? And they became really aware that they couldn't do this on their own. The village corporation presidents wrote a letter to, I think it was John Sackett, who was president of Joy Unlimited during that time, and he agreed to meet with them, invited them all to a meeting in Fairbanks. And during that time, during that session of the president's meeting with John Sackett, their discussion led to the formation of what's called the Interior Village Association. IVA, Interior Village Association, was a nonprofit association formed primarily to assist village corporations with their jobs or their responsibilities to make their corporation profitable or implement it. So the IVA hired a number of people that were experienced or educated in business development, lands, how do you administer lands and what do you do with lands? So a lands person, accounting and bookkeeping services. And those are the primary things that the village corporations knew that they needed help on. So I think it was about 3 or 4 years after IVA was formed that I became interested in that association, and there was a job, so I applied for it, and I was hired as the president of the association, and got that job, and started working with the village corporations to assist them through the IVA, the Interior Village Association. Now, it was an exciting job because I would be able, along with all the staff people, to travel out to the villages to help each village that contracted for our service implement their corporation and its goals. So that included organizing the village, identifying their claimed lands, and trying to get title to that, trying to start a business, helping them with their goals and objectives at that time, set up their mission and purpose, and just generally making the corporation viable. So that was an exciting time period for me to be able to serve on the Joy Unlimited board. At one time, for a 3-year period, being a village corporation president, and then being president of this new association. So it was traveling around, getting to know many village people that were board members and officers in the village corporations, who were friends and relatives and people that we knew growing up on the river because of my dad's river freighting business. So we all knew each other, so it was really a exciting time. The villages started realizing that some of them were way too small. They didn't have enough money to keep hiring an executive director or president or someone to run their corporation. The boards were trying to do it, so it was implementation by board running the corporation, which didn't work out very good in most instances. So we helped 3 groups of villages dissolve their corporations and implement or consolidate them into a new corporation. And it had to be done that way because of Alaska statutes. So one was 4 villages around the McGrath area, 4 villages around there, and that new corporation is called MTNT. And the other one was the Galena area villages. That's Kayakuk, Nalato, Galena, and Caltag, Nalato, Kayakuk, and Galena. There's 4 villages there consolidated, and villages along the Kayakuk River. So that was Hoosla, Hughes, Salakak, and Latin. Those villages there in Bevs, I think it was. No, it was only 4 of them. But we helped form those a new corporation there, and it was more viable. They could really make something because they pooled their money, they pooled their experience of people in those villages. They had more experience in business, an organization in order to be a more viable corporation. After that, I went to work for Fairbanks Native Association. I worked there for a number of years, and then went to work for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Now, when I went to work for the BIA, you can't be involved in any Native politics, Native organizations. So I had to give up my seat on the Doyle Limited Board of Directors, and by then I was not in the Village Corporation anymore, and IVA was no longer around. And so I had to give that all up and to work for the federal government.